Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at 10 different Pokemon that are just one move away to be meta. And this video I kinda make also because of the recent Clodsire nerf, and I kinda wanted to reply to the people that were like kinda sad about like why this Pokemon cannot just break the meta. There are a lot of Pokemon that actually kinda squishy and like kinda not taking 5 minutes to complete a battle that can still actually break the meta, and I kinda want to showcase potential updates for some Pokemon that are already in the game with moves that are already in the game. Of course, I could even expand that if you want to see that as well, where I add completely new moves, which I kinda want to make in a different kind of video anyway, but maybe also for kind of this kind of series. But otherwise, feel free to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. Of course, only around 43% are actually subscribed to this channel who watches one. It's free, feel free to do it, would help me out quite a bit, and we can start in immediately with the first Pokemon. One of the most highly requested Pokemon to get an update for the fast move is going to be Shadow Feraligatr. This Pokemon currently sucks. Like, honestly, this Pokemon is horrific. It's a very squishy Pokemon. It's a pure water type starter Pokemon here, so as you're going to see, this Pokemon is really bad. It's always the one-shot scenario, by the way, but if we're going to give it Shadow Claw, we're going to see already this Pokemon gets an average rating of 567. Does not mean that this Pokemon is with that like extremely strong, because it's a squishy Pokemon, and squishy Pokemon tend to have better win rates than like normal. But we see here already this Pokemon would be able to break a lot of different Pokemon like Medicham, Gligar, Registeel, Swampert, main Pokemon of the meta. And honestly, I would love to see it. I would love to see something like this for the Feraligatr. I think that would be a cool change, just to have this Pokemon a little bit more meta. And literally it shows like how you can have some Pokemon that are really horrific with just a one fast move change to be one of the best Pokemon in the meta. Like, there are a lot of Pokemon like this, and there are a lot of Pokemon that would break those Medicham plus Gligar and whatever around, which is like really, really cool. And Feraligatr would be one of those. Moving on to the second one here for today, which is going to be Decidueye. You could do two different kind of changes here for this Pokemon. Either you're going to also give it Shadow Claw, which I find a little bit lame, or you're going to give it another charge move, which is a little bit more intuitive, which I would say is as well here, which is going to be the move Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade basically would allow this Pokemon to gain an average rating of 140, making this Pokemon fairly meta, but not too overpowered either. As you can see here, Leafage plus Leaf Blade is really nice, and also those calculations going to be a little bit more in its favor, because you're going to have, of course, the move of Brave Bird, which you usually just go for the bait with Leaf Blade and then go for Brave Bird afterwards to knock out opponents. But this Pokemon going to be able to also break the Medicham plus Carbon Core plus Lantern, which is really common, and especially like Medicham plus Lantern is basically everywhere, and also Swampert and Vigoroth, while not being too strong either. Like, this Pokemon still would be fairly balanced, as Leafage is not the best fast move either, so you're going to not generate energy like a crazy amount. I think Leafage is a clone of Bullet Punch, so it's going to be a fairly decent one in general. It's just a Trevenant without the ghost type damage or ghost type coverage here. Also, this Pokemon could learn Spirit Shackle eventually, which would be its signature move, which would be a ghost type move. So this might be even an upgrade for the future afterwards maybe, but this looks for me very balanced and very healthy for the meta, and would get rid basically of all the lanterns that are currently lurking around. It would be a very cool potential grass type Pokemon to have for the meta. So I would love to see this one. I feel like this is kind of a solid one. Of course, you could also actually just give it the Community Day move, which would also help this Pokemon out quite a bit, but not as much. So Leaf Blade would be just a better Frenzy Plan, to be fair. So we can move on to the next Pokemon, something that most people most likely didn't expect on the list, and I feel like this Pokemon would be something that I would take immediately. Without even a doubt, this Pokemon would be amazing with this move, which is going to be just Powder Snow. It learns Powder Snow normally. I think it even had Powder Snow in the beginning into the moveset or something like this, but as you're going to see here, the difference between Ice Fang and Powder Snow is kinda decent as well, while not being like too overpowered either. Like, getting up to 524 for the meta right now is kind of decent, just because Avalanche plus Powder Snow is a really good coverage together, plus Body Slam gives it a very nice closer move, like just in general, just to get some shield, just to knock out the Pokemon with a few HP. So giving here some Pokemon that it would be beat, for example, the Lickitung, Gligar, Swampert, Clodsire, Pelipper, Mandibuzz, Sableye, Superior, Cresselia, all those Pokemon you would be able to beat in the one-shot scenario as well, which is just really, really cool. And honestly, this Pokemon would be a fun Pokemon to use. Has very decent stats as well. A little bit above like 2000 is the stat product, which is really cool. So this Pokemon would be amazing. Next Pokemon, this is like one of the Pokemon where I feel like it might be even a little bit too strong, but I'm not sure about it yet. So let's take a look at this one. It's going to be the Linoone. Linoone going to get access here for me for Body Slam. This is kind of an obvious one, and as you can see here, it gets an average rating of 545. And it looks actually better than it actually is. This Pokemon is still fairly solid. Of course, it's a very strong Pokemon, especially with Body Slam and Grass Knot. Grass Knot going to give it coverage against Lantern, which is amazing, also against Swampert. But honestly, if you take a look at the other stats, like if you just go into like the builder and see what it actually beats, it's actually just a decent alternative to Lickitung, but it's not that much better. It's basically Lickitung with a worse, I think, coverage move. No, actually, Grass Knot, I think, is the same as the Power Whip. Is, I think, the exact same charge moves basically with that. Just a better fast move, but less bulk. And I feel like this would be a cool addition in general. Just having basically something that could remove the Lickitung, while then still being a little bit weaker because of the less bulk that you have. And I feel like this would be a cool addition to the meta, as well as it's going to be cheaper. This is a thing as well that you're going to see in the video. I didn't include, I think, a single Pokemon that would be XL. So this is going to make it a little bit more easier for most people to get as well. And Linoone is like such a cool Pokemon in my opinion. Would love to see this getting a little bit of a buff. Next Pokemon coming up is going to be Luxray. This Pokemon recently got nerfed for no reason. It just literally, like, there's a thing as well which I kind of found annoying with the Spark change. Spark before was worse for the Lantern. Lantern actually gained quite a bit of more popularity, especially in the play Pokemon circuit there. But the thing is, it kind of didn't really affect Lantern or like made it even a little bit stronger as in a closing scenario. But what it did is, it basically nerfed everything else which had Spark prior. And literally it was just more of a harm than any good that it did there. So I wish that Spark gets nerfed a little bit more. But Luxray going to get Volt Switch. And as you're going to see here already, this Pokemon gains a ton of average rating, but kind of similar to the ones before, this definitely does not show how strong this Pokemon actually going to be. While an average rating of 569 looks like crazy, this Pokemon is insanely squishy. This is an insane glass cannon, which can be a great closer, but if you have like energy advantage on your Pokemon, if you have a fast move that does some decent amount of damage, in a two-shot scenario, this Pokemon going to be a little bit more awkward, as well as the stats that you see here right now is when you bait basically for the first one with Psychic Fangs, get the defense drop against the opponent, then hit the Shadow Wild Charge against the opponent, which is not how most of the time it's going to happen. So yes, you're going to have the potential to break a lot of Pokemon, but it's very bait dependent, so it's not going to be as good as the average rating shows here. But I feel like this Pokemon would be a really cool Pokemon to have, so I'm definitely down for Shadow Luxray to have some kind of play in the Great League as well as Ultra League. But here, yeah, again, it's just a very great glass cannon. So if you have like someone that has counter as a fast move, as well as if you have something like a Steelix would most likely be more popular if Luxray would be around. Just Steelix completely hard was this Pokemon. Like, there are a lot of Pokemon that can answer this one here, so it's not too strong. Here's a Pokemon that I just want to put in there because this Pokemon has a lot of potential. I don't want this buff though, because this is a very bulky Pokemon. Like, Alomomola is basically one of the most bulkiest Pokemon that currently don't really have a lot of play in at least the standard meta. Has some play in like other metas, but as you're going to see here, if you're going to add Surf on this Pokemon, we gain an average of like 70, I think it's 77 there, which gives you plus 10 wins, which is kind of wild. So yeah, plus 10 wins is of course great for this Pokemon. In general, it looks like an overpowered one here. It basically beats the entire meta though. It kind of forces even more Lantern and more grass type Pokemon. Like, completely gets destroyed by any kind of grass type Pokemon. Those, like, it's going to be kind of balanced as well for that, or any kind of dragon type Pokemon. But you're kind of forced to use it. But this would definitely shift the meta quite a bit. Surf on Alomomola, I still think it would be manageable. I don't think it would be completely busted, like that you cannot play anything other than this Pokemon. But this would definitely be a top 5 Pokemon for the Great League for sure, which is for a very bulky Pokemon not something that I would really like to achieve, but it would be a great upgrade for this one for sure. Scald would be, for example, a good alternative for Surf. Scald does a little bit, I think does a little bit less damage. It definitely needs like 10 more energy. It has the debuff chance, of course, and I feel like this would make it a little bit more balanced, but yeah, right now with Surf would be also kind of cool. Empoleon. look how bad it looks here on paper. It wins 8 out of like 42 matchups, which is really bad. And kind of similar to what we already saw in the other example there with the, with the Feraligatr in the beginning. We're also going to add Shadow Claw into this Pokemon. It learned Shadow Claw in the main series games easily. All moves here, by the way, that they learn, of course, learn there in the main series games. And look how balanced it is, but look how strong it is as well. Going to be able to get 22 wins and 20 losses looks kind of balanced, but the average rating looks really great for this Pokemon. Going up to 545, you just need a better fast move on this Pokemon. And here's something that I also kind of would like to say for water type Pokemon. I wish that we get a different kind of water type fast move, like Whirlpool, for example. Make it a 3 or 4 turn move that generates energy quite a bit decently, like kind of similar to something like the Water Shuriken is. And I feel like it would be such a cool one there. But here we're going to add the Shadow Claw, which would be, of course, a great move for this Pokemon. Breaks Steelix, Alolan, Ninetales, Carving, Clodsire, Registeel, Gligar. Has a lot of potential. Gets just very fast to the Hydro Cannon plus Drill Peck, which is really good coverage as well. So this Pokemon is very, very strong. Might be a little bit too broken. And now we're going to move on to the next Pokemon here, which is going to be Hawlucha. Currently got nerfed before, and I just kind of want to revert one of the nerfs here. It had Sky Attack before, which we don't really need here as we have the Aerial Ace buff recently. Having access to Aerial Ace plus Flying Press is really cool for the meta, but Poison Jab kind of sucks, as you can see here. This Pokemon would need kind of a global event or something for it, but if we're gonna give it Wing Attack, this Pokemon turns out to be one of the coolest core breakers for the Open Great League. Breaking apart basically the Medicham plus Lickitung core, which is exactly what everybody wants to see, and Hawlucha would be really cool for that. Of course, would benefit something like the Lantern again. Lantern would be more common, but Hawlucha would be such a cool Pokemon to have, and I would love to see this Pokemon getting a buff. Again, it's regional, so it's a little bit tricky for this Pokemon, but it would be a very strong one. Looks really balanced on paper in general. Looks like a Pokemon that still has a lot of Pokemon that completely destroy it. For example, something like Cresselia, something like the Deoxys defense with the Psycho Boost, but otherwise it's just a very strong Pokemon if you would give it Wing Attack. Next Pokemon is actually something that I would love to see as well, and I would take this one like the Avalugg basically immediately without any doubt, because I know that this Pokemon would not be broken, but it would be very cool for the meta and very balanced. And that's going to be Torterra, being double weak to Ice typing, having a weakness to Fire typing, having a weakness to so many other typings like Flying as well, is making this Pokemon a little bit awkward, especially as you only have Razor Leaf as a fast move really, other than Bite, I think. So this is kind of like a Razor Leafer that is not really ideal, but you can give it Mudshot. It learns Mudshot in the main series games, and you see already the average rating goes up to 511. This is not crazy, but I just like it. Honestly, I think this Pokemon would be just so cool to run, because you have like Step Frenzy Plant that you're gonna get to very, very fast now after 5 fast moves, so it would be really cool for her. Frenzy Plant as well. Would be the only Frenzy Plant user, I think, that can get there that fast. And then you're going to have Earthquake as coverage move as well. So this would be basically like a Stunfisk, but with different coverage, of course, but like basically the same pacing, because Rockslide and Frenzy Plant needs the same amount of energy, and also kind of would be a cool Pokemon to use. Breaks completely, of course, the Lantern, as you're going to be able to just knock them out with a Frenzy Plant, which is kind of nice. Has a lot of potential against a lot of Pokemon as well in the 2-shield scenario, just because you outspeed them. Breaks Registeel, breaks Carving, breaks like so many Pokemon. Also, you have the alternative of Stone Edge on this Pokemon, or even the bait move of Sand Tomb, which might be cool for a Frenzy Plant as well. But yeah, very unique and balanced Pokemon. We don't really have grass and ground type Pokemon available right now, so this would be a really cool one to see. As we can move on into the final one for today, this might be a little bit more of a controversial one again, but there was basically a debate for this already before, and now as this Pokemon got completely nerfed into the ground, like look at the average rating, this is so abysmal for Skarmory, especially as this Pokemon is something that a lot of people have already built. Honestly, why not give it Wing Attack? Yes, I know it's going to be very strong, but there are so many very decent counters, again, that you're most likely going to see then as well, or something like a Bastion or something like this, that can still deal with this Pokemon, that I feel like Wing Attack would not be the worst idea. I see that people might not want to see it and think it might be a little bit too overpowered, but since like Sky Attack got nerfed anyway, like the moveset is maybe a little bit better, and like a little bit better typing in general compared to Noctowl, but you're still going to lose against Lickitung for whatever reason. Like, it's not even that you're going to be able to beat this one. I feel it would be very balanced. Of course, you're going to see more Lantern, then you're going to see more Bastion, then you're going to see quite more other Pokemon. But I feel like this Pokemon would be actually balanced, and right now, very cool Pokemon to have, especially as a lot of people have that one built already. And this would make it a little bit less, I don't know, yeah, less of a waste to have this one built already, but I feel like also the better idea for this one is not to buff Wing Attack, but to buff Steel Wing, which is a very easy move to buff, so you need to buff both energy as well as damage, most likely for Steel Wing though, or like at least a lot of energy. But yeah, would be maybe even a cooler idea than a Wing Attack, but a Wing Attack is the easier option for you. But this is going to be it for today's video. Let me know in the comment section what Pokemon you want to see next in this kind of video, because I feel like both for the Great League, Ultra League, as well as for Master League, would be a lot of Pokemon that would have basically just one move change or whatever that would make it matter. Let me know in the comment section what Pokemon you kind of want to see here next, and this is going to be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out the videos on the screen, and I see you then. Bye bye.